I think clothing-centric stocks are actually fairly difficult to follow, to fully understand, just because they usually throw an extra variable into the mix. And that is just fashion trends. Some things get in style, some things get out of style, right? We see that with Under Armour. This is maybe one of the more dramatic examples, but we see basically since it's IPO'd, it's just been a roller coaster all the way down, which maybe you had some success in there, but probably not really. And it's only $3.5 billion market cap. And I'm sure most of you listening, certainly if you're American, you probably have heard of Under Armour. To think it's only $3.5 billion market cap, and how many hundreds of stocks have a larger market cap than this of brands you've never heard of is actually, it's really interesting. And we see that more recently with Lululemon. Obviously, this chart is great. But even since, literally, what is that, 10 and a half months ago, we see it nearly fall half in value from 511 to 258. And with Nike, we see that a little bit, but I think this is more not trends as much as it is, just they had a really good 2021 with like sneaker collecting and all that sort of thing. So, but that gets to my point, is I think Nike has been around long enough, is a big enough brand, is a big enough staple that they can kind of buck that trend, a fashion trend, right? Where you get something like Lululemon or something like Abercrombie Finch. We've just seen it be on an absolute tear, right? 5 years up 800%. For some reason, the chart isn't loading because of the website's fault, not mine. Apparently, it's not going to load, but you can see at least here 804% over the last 5 years. So that is dramatic, right? You can see when things pick up in trends and they'll just explode, or maybe they'll fall a little bit out of trend and it'll lose some value. But I don't think Nike really has that issue, or if it does, it's a lot lesser degree. I mean, people kind of, at least as of recently, have, at least for like the last 10 to 20 years, have just gone crazy for Nike, right? Shoes, and shoes are they're much bigger trend because they're collectible, right? No one's collecting the leggings from Lululemons, right? Maybe one random dude is, right? And maybe that's not for, I don't know, I'm not making that joke, but you get my point, right? This is gonna buck that trend of, I gotta be super cautious about this because this stock that, this clothing stock that's caught steam is gonna lose all its momentum because of that. But we can see, if we're diving deeper into the stock itself, even all that being said, a negative 16% performance over the last 5 years is not necessarily what you're looking for, right? However, I'm not super concerned about that. I think mainly that is because, of PE valuations. I mean, even going back to, 31 and a half PE, 34 back at the beginning of 2020 or very end of 2023, right? If we look at that chart, from the only difference really here is not necessarily earnings, it's just perception of future growth, which, don't get me wrong, future growth is very important. But so you can see 4P is falling a little bit. So not ideal, but earnings look okay, right? I think Nike's going to be fine long-term. Long-term hold, Nike will do fine. That's the point of this video. Is it screaming buy right now? Not necessarily. Forward P is 28, which roughly matches the S&P 500 average. S&P 500 is around 27. I would assume forward PE is lower than that, but it's not terrible. But Nike is one of the huge global brands, right? Global clothing brands. People know what Nike is. It's going to be around. They may lose some momentum from their sales. However, if there is any clothing brand you can count on long term, it's probably Nike, right? I don't know. There's maybe a handful of others you could probably count on, but Nike is one of the few, and they may. So this is a stock. Do I recommend to buy it? Probably not. I'm cautious. I don't necessarily think with these PEs it's screaming buy right now. However, if you understand Nike, you know Nike, you understand like the trends, maybe you understand the seasonalness of it, maybe you're seeing something deeper than just the underlying numbers, which happens often, right? It's impossible to know. everything when it comes to a stock without doing super in-depth research. However, this is not something that's screaming buy in the short term. Like, oh yeah, you're going to buy, it's just going to run up. Who knows? They could have great earnings. It seems like they consistently at least beat projections, right? So you can probably aim a little bit higher on this. Maybe you're looking at 26 instead of 28. That's still not crazy appealing. Certainly for a stock that has not gone up over the last 5 years. 10 years, it's a little bit better. Certainly over the history of the company, they've done phenomenally. I'm not refuting that. Since 2014, you're a little over double, which the S&P 500 has gone up close to triple over that time frame. They pay a little bit higher dividend than the S&P 500. But also to be fair, to be completely fair, if you did sell in 2022, you would have 4x'd, so you would have outperformed the S&P 500 during that time frame. So it's not like this stock hasn't had mega success before. It's not like they're not one of the largest, brands in the space, right? This is a solid company. Is it a great company? I don't know. Maybe. I prefer. There's just so many companies I could show you with lower PE multiples that have had way more success. I can name two off the top of my head, and not in this area, but if you look at Caterpillar, and if you look at crap, I just lost it on my head. Logitech. Those are two companies. They're much smaller. Not exactly. Well, Logitech is much smaller. That are half the value of the S&P 500 roughly, and have 3 to 8x over the last 10 years. So, however, diversification, right? There's not a lot of good clothing brands you can just hold long term and expect it to do decent, right? So if you're looking for diversification, that sort of thing, this is not a bad play at all. I think it's pretty good. Market just opened as I'm recording this video. It's up 1%. That's cool. Let's look a little bit more at what people think. See, Schwab disagrees. They think it's going to perform well. They think it's going to be in the top 25% of performers in the stock market. So they think it's a buy. So listen to them, not me, maybe then. They reiterated that 6 days ago. Morningstar gives it a 4. Economic Melt Wide. I would agree with this, right? Brand. Everyone knows who Nike is. One of the biggest clothing brands in the world, right? They are. So, like I said, if you're going to bet on almost any clothing company like this is one of the better ones, right? If you can do in-depth research and catch all the fashion trends, all that, probably can do better. I don't know that stuff. I just don't. So, I would never be able to. First of all, not never, but unlikely buy the fairly low ESG score. Sorry, my voice is breaking, but I think I'm going to wrap here anyways. I don't have much more to say. I'd just be repeating myself. This is a decent company. Long-term hold, you're going to do fine. Short-term, no one knows anyways, but it's not necessarily screaming super great value to me just with that forward PE. However, always do more research into a company. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed my opinion, I'd really appreciate if you left a like, subscribe if you made it this far. Certainly a like. I notice whenever people interact with my videos, they often do much better than the peer videos, certainly early on. So it just helps out the channel quite a bit. But honestly, things have been going pretty well. I've been doing better than I expected. So, but anyways, I appreciate all you guys watching. I'll catch you next time. See ya.